You are listening to KLRN Radio, where liberty and reason still reign.
Most writers and radio show hosts know that to connect with your fans, you need to do more than just write books or record the latest podcasts. There are many different elements that go into forming an online platform, but there are also many hidden traps. To make matters worse, solid advice on how to survive the muddy waters is scarce. In the book Hidden Traps, I talk about some of the important issues of working with an online platform, highlighting traps that could put your physical or internet security at risk or be harmful to your reputation. Are your social media posts just links with a few disjointed words, making you look like someone who can't complete a sentence? Did your new website cost you more than you anticipated? Are you leaking your personal contact details across the web without even knowing it? Then you need Hidden Traps. Hidden Traps is now available in paperback and ebook from a variety of retailers, including Amazon, Barnes & Noble, and Kobo. Visit blackwolfpublications.com for more details.
If you're 85 or younger, would you like peace of mind and comfort for your family? We're Final Expense Direct with an urgent message for you. The average funeral today costs over $8,000, but the most you'll get from government benefits is $255. How will your family pay the difference? We can help. Our senior plans start as low as just $1 a day and pay up to $30,000 for a funeral and other final expenses. Peace of mind is easy. There's no medical exam. You'll have lifetime coverage, and your plan can't be canceled as long as you pay your premiums. Call now for free information about our senior plans. Answer a few simple questions and receive approval right on the phone. Plus, call right now and we'll give you a discount prescription card for free. Call 800-553-8687. That's 800-553-8687. Again, 800-553-8687. 687.
KLRN Radio has advertising rates available. We have rates to fit almost any budget. Contact us at advertising@klrnradio.com.
Everyone loves liberty. Our rights come from God, not the government. So why are you letting other people tell you what's best for your health care? Exercise your freedom with Liberty Health Share. Liberty Health Share is a community of people who voluntarily share one another's medical costs. Liberty Health Share is founded on the idea that most people truly want to help one another. Healthcare sharing allows members to do just that as a true community that supports one another in times of need. Liberty believes people should make decisions for themselves and their families. Members are able to take back the freedom to make their own decisions about their health care. Freedom from guilt or doubt about how your money is used. You have the freedom to direct your health care, not to be dictated to by bureaucrats. Stop letting others tell you what to do and join a community of like-minded people. Exercise your freedom. Join Liberty Health Share and take back the control of your health care while helping those around you. Call Liberty at 855-58-LIBERTY. Again, that's 855-58-LIBERTY for more information, or you can check them out at libertyhealthshare.org. Again, that's libertyhealthshare.org.
My son was in the Army back during Desert Storm, but even then he wanted an MBA. He looked at a dozen schools, but only one offered the online education and flexibility he needed while he was in a tent in Iraq. Grantham University. Turns out that Grantham's been delivering affordable, relevant college and advanced degrees for over 65 years. Heck, if they can deliver a quality education to a soldier in a tent overseas, think about the flexibility Grantham can offer you so you can earn your degree too. It doesn't matter how complicated or full your life is. If getting a degree is on your bucket list, you'll want to do what my son did. You'll want to call Grantham. Find out how easy it is to get started on your education so you can check that college degree off your bucket list. Call Grantham right now. 800-910-1370. That's 800-910-1370. Flexible, affordable, relevant. Call 800-910-1370.
At St. Jude, our family never sees a bill at all. It's like the world has been lifted off of your shoulders.
St. Jude Children's Research Hospital. Finding cures, saving children. Learn more at stjude.org.
Sometimes writers feel lost, unsure why a passage may not be working. takes another set of eyes to help us nurture our writing into full maturity. At Black Wolf Editorial Services, we strive to enable writers to develop and grow, offering manuscript critiques and line edits through a mentoring editorial style. We also offer assistance on generating a writer's bio for your websites. Black Wolf Editorial Services, nurturing your writing into maturity. For a full list of services, visit blackwolfeditorial.com.
You're listening to the Spark Radio Network, internet radio like you've never heard before. Innovation, creativity, and imagination are all said to begin with a spark. So fasten your seatbelt and take the ride of your life and listen for the spark.
And so, my fellow Americans, ask not what your country can do for you. Ask what you can do for your country.
Freedom is never more than one generation away from extinction. We didn't pass it on to our children in the bloodstream. The only way they can inherit the freedom we have known is if we fight for it, protect it, defend it, and then hand it to them with the well-taught lessons of how they in their lifetime must do the same.
All right, folks, happy Tuesday evening. This is Rick Robinson, one half of the crew for the Jen and Rick Show. Unfortunately, Jen has the flu, so I think she will actually be out most of this week, unfortunately. But we do have Jess from Jess's POV and Jesse's Coffee Shop sitting in with us this evening. She was actually going to be a guest on America Off the Rails this evening, but I was stuck in traffic and she was dealing with day job type stuff. So we decided to have our guest host tonight. She's actually been wanting to come on to talk about craziness with the gun control and the NRA attacks, etc. So without further ado, I'm going to turn the mic over to her. Good evening, Jess. How are you?
I'm doing great, Rick. And are you expecting this mic back anytime soon?
No, not really. I know how your rants go, and I expect it.
Okay, so you know that there's a pent-up rant waiting to be unleashed.
Yeah, when you asked to come on a national-based like politics show instead of a regional or international show, I know there's usually something that you want to rant about, and it usually takes up quite a bit of time. So knock yourself out.
Well, first of all, time out. Broward County sheriffs, 4 of you, didn't enter the building. No offense, I've checked with the experts. Assuming you'll call a Navy SEAL or Delta Force or United States Special Forces of other varieties an expert. None of them would have wanted a long gun. They all would have preferred a handgun to take out that shooter. Secondly, those of you trying to take away my guns, yeah, those, I'm sorry. I have committed no crimes. I have no intention of committing a crime. And I pass numerous background checks. I can guarantee you there are no warrants for my arrest. And I have never been involved in a domestic violence situation. Now, moving on to the students. At 16, you think you know everything. Womp womp. Fail. I'm sorry, you don't. Many of you are under 16, and you can't even drive to the local grocery store. Never mind the local gun store. And for those of you who are using the term assault rifle, I'm sorry. Define it. Because that AR-15 is just like the wood hunting rifle your grandfather might have had hanging over his fireplace. It just looks different. It's got a different hand grip. And it's got a few, quote, scary-looking pieces. But that's about the size of it. And Rolling Stone, I don't believe what you said in your latest article. getting shot by a handgun is like getting stabbed with a bullet? I don't even know where to start with that one. Really?
It's obvious she's never been shot. Just saying.
Who's never been shot? Me?
Whoever wrote the article.
Yeah. Oh, and they said that you can do way more damage with a bullet from a rifle than a handgun. I beg to differ. I keep self-defense rounds, aka hollow points, in my handgun. You'd rather have the full metal jacket from my AR-15. I promise you that. Then, these 16-year-olds yelling and screaming their heads off. Okay, you have been through a horrific tragedy. I will grant you that. However, there is no reason for you to try and tell me or anyone else what to do. You have not earned the right to vote, the right to drink, and many of you don't even have a driver's license yet. Now, I will happily let you vent and yell and scream. I have zero issues with that. But you know what? I'm going to say this is not entirely for you to blame, because I believe you have been taken over by Democratic sympathizers who are in effect playing you like a fiddle. They are using you to push an issue that they have longed to see come to the forefront. And on the topic of bump stocks, you lose so much control of your weapon, they're not worth using. I was taught that when I go to pull a trigger, I better be fully prepared to hit what I'm aiming at and not anything else. I have engaged in more shooting drills than most of you. Trust me. My first husband saw I put in plenty of time at the range. I don't know the names of all the drills or all the exercises we went through. I was taught how to clear a house with another person and without. I was taught how to hit a target, both a moving target and a stationary one. I was taught how to seek cover and return fire. Yes, there was someone shooting at me. They were using simunition, which, by the way, that still stings pretty badly. It's essentially compressed chalk. And if you've ever been hit by a flying piece of chalk in the classroom, you can only imagine how much it hurts when it comes out of the muzzle of a gun. Any gun. Take your pick. Yes, I was wearing proper protective gear. That doesn't mean there weren't a few welts and bruises. I really have lost it. Gun-free zones are nothing more than a sign to people who would do harm, as the sign might as well say, easy targets here. Especially if the local sheriff's department, who had not one, but 4 deputies on scene, decides we can't go in the building. I'm sorry. This is just beyond ridiculous. And now you want to take away my right to defend myself. There are hundreds of incidences of good guys with guns every week in this country. On my show, Jesse's POV, I've taken to mentioning at least one a week. I could do entire shows on it, but I choose to spend my time on other topics. So I limit it to one. You want to know? I'll be happy to tell you about them. The homeowner who was fired on from his own house by someone who was burglarizing it, and when he happened to pull up and fired into his vehicle. He returned fire with just one shot. Thankfully, the criminal wasn't practiced with his firearm and missed. The man who had taken his family out to dinner. Two of his children had gone to the restroom by themselves when a robber came in. His family members who were seated out with him in the dining area left. He waited for the two in the restroom. When the robber pointed the gun at his two children, this father took action. That robber, and only that robber, was hit and killed. You want to take away people's rights? I'm sorry. I'd like to see you understand and learn more about guns before you even considering telling me it was intended for a musket. You still have a lot to learn. All right, Rick, I think I need a drink of water now.
Okay. So, while you're getting a drink of water, I want to touch on one thing that you had pointed out, because honestly, the thing that basically just, well, I mean, I can't say it any other way. It really just kind of pissed me off, was the fact that CNN went on this anti-NRA tirade before they even knew what was going on with the Broward County Sheriff's Office. So let's recap for a second for those of us that have even a modicum of firearm training. You had 4 qualified, trained officers, most likely in some form of body armor, with a minimum of 45 rounds apiece, both loaded into their weapon and on their duty rigs. And yet they opted to take cover and post up defensively, which means they were prepared to defend themselves should the shooter come outside and start firing at them. However, for those of you that missed the memo, after the school shootings, the first one, Columbine, they changed how law enforcement were supposed to react to active shooter incidents. It's no longer radio, wait for backup and wait for the SWAT team to arrive. It's radio and engage regardless of your numbers, because most of these people, if they are engaged, will either flee or shoot themselves in the head, because they're not there to be shot by cops or to be stopped. They're there to inflict as much damage as they can because they think they are in a gun-free safe zone. So that's why the tactics were changed. The fact that these BSO cowards, 3 of them cowered behind their cruiser, the assigned safety officer was cowering behind a staircase instead of doing their job. But yeah, let's blame the NRA and start threatening to take away guns. And for all of you that want to tell me that the Democrats don't really want to take our guns, they just floated a piece of legislation that will ban 205 firearms in this country, most of which are semi-automatic pistols and semi-automatic rifles. So tell me again they're not trying to come after my guns, and I will prove you wrong every single time.
I never fired a shot to harm one soul. Self-defense is my #1 goal. To the politicians, don't be so stupid. I'm keeping my arms to protect my kids. None of the gun laws ever stop the criminal. More CCPs will keep crime minimal.
Sorry,
Nice.
Rick, I had to play it.
That's all right. I've never heard that before. That's pretty cool.
It's my intro for Good Guys with Guns.
Nice. Well, unfortunately, in this most recent incident, there apparently weren't any good guys with guns, at least not that were immediately on the scene. There were a bunch of cowards with guns.
Yeah, and these are the trained, quote-unquote, good guys with uniforms and badges that are supposed to be handling the bad guys with guns.
That had training for this exact scenario. That's the thing that floored me the most, because I've been through a lot of my training was different because I was involved before a lot of the protocols were changed. But I've been through active shooter scenarios and different trainings. Now, granted, when I did it, we didn't have, I think you called it simunition. We used airsoft pistols. You want to talk about something that hurts? Getting shot with an airsoft pistol is not fun. Ow.
Trust me, simunition probably hurts just as much, if not worse.
I have no frame of reference, but I know for little plastic BBs, that stuff sucks. I almost said a bad word.
This is compressed chalk.
Ow. I don't know, but that still... But you really learn pretty fast, because one of the training exercises we went through quite often was the one to dispel the myth of there being anything that the media likes to call an ordinary traffic stop. So that one was fun. We had to go through that one usually about once a quarter. And it was basically we would be at a training location. We would actually initiate the traffic stop, come out, approach the vehicle, follow all the right protocols, and he who did not get shot at the end of the day won. Needless to say, most of us lost at least once. So yeah, being shot at close range sucks even worse with little plastic BBs.
I'm sure it does, Rick. I'm sure it does. No, I had simunition and paintballs and airsoft guns, all of the above, thrown at me. So what can I say?
Fun times.
Okay. I checked with the experts, and I'm going to call the Special Forces guys experts. If they can't explain what the better weapon to engage an active shooter is in a classroom type setting, I don't know who can.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
They said they'd rather have a handgun any day than a long rifle in a school type building.
Well, that's because in close quarters combat, a handgun is going to be your weapon of choice anyway. That's one of the biggest things that I keep hearing everybody throw around is nobody wants to stare down the barrel of an AR-15. That bullet travels 3,200 feet per second. Yeah, in a close quarters combat scenario, that stat means absolutely bupkis. But thanks for playing. We're not talking about somebody trying to use it as a sniper rifle. We're talking about close quarters. That's completely different. Jeez.
And the idiot that wrote that Rolling Stone article knows nothing. And for I think it was Senator Feinstein, Dianne Feinstein, to retweet a quote out of that article just shows her lack of knowledge.
Yeah, she's a little nuts.
I don't think that's news.
No, it's not. Although, in an interesting turn of events, I'm not sure if you're aware, but her state DNC chair opted not to endorse her for her upcoming election. So apparently she's not even left enough for the new DNC. That should tell you something.
Yeah, that says a lot. I mean, when are we going to harden our schools? We protect our banks with guns. We protect our airports. God knows there's enough guns at a police station, and they aren't afraid to use them, unless you're talking about the Broward County Sheriff's Department, but I'll leave them out of it for the moment. We protect so many places with guns. Even the children in South Korea who go to school near the DMZ have soldiers guarding their classroom. When are we going to learn and put more armed security and potentially even armed teachers? And for people who are always saying, well, they don't have the background, they don't have the training, there is a troops to teachers program that is set up to specifically take former military members and turn them into classroom teachers. I guarantee you start asking around, there'll be a lot of veterans in many school districts. Why they aren't trained to handle a gun? You're kidding me. You're going to tell me a member of the United States Armed Forces whose hands you would put an M4 or an M16, which is very similar to an AR-15, send them overseas and tell them to protect and defend our country, isn't qualified to handle a handgun? I'm going to say you failed. Common sense 101.
Yeah, no, I mean, really. That's pretty true.
I've even heard that one of the 2 teachers who died in the shooting was an NRA member and had a concealed carry weapons permit. And, of course, he wasn't carrying because he was at school. I guarantee you, he would have pulled the trigger.
Well, yeah, I had somebody on Twitter when I was criticizing, especially it was one thing when there was a single officer. Yes, in that situation, I still would have gone into the building, but it's one thing when it's a one-on-one scenario. I can almost forgive him hesitating, especially since the entire thing lasted 4 minutes. But when there were, well, I guess it was 6 minutes, because he was there by himself for the first 2 minutes. 3 other officers came on scene and posted up behind their cruisers within the first 2 minutes. So that's 4 minutes that there was an active shooter on campus, and they were posted up behind their vehicles taking cover and posted up behind hard areas to take cover. And as other officers from other departments came on scene who ran past them to go into the building and render aid, because by then the scenario was pretty much over, they're looking back at their fellow brothers in uniforms and giving them these looks that I can only imagine, because they know what's been going on in that building. The only people that are to blame right now for this incident are the shooter and the Broward County Sheriff's Office, because that person at even one point self-reported, but they were contacted about this person on 40 plus separate occasions, one of which was a time that he called about himself shortly after his mother passed away and told them that he was a danger to himself and to others, and they ignored him. If they had followed protocol, that one instance, if they would have just taken him in for the 72-hour evaluation that is typically required in most states when somebody does that. I don't know what Florida law is. I haven't checked. But assuming it's the same, because it probably is, if they had done that one thing, that would have caused him to fail a background check until such time as he had a complete psychiatric evaluation to verify that he was not going to be a danger to himself and to others. That would have been enough to flag the background check, which means when he went to buy the firearm that everybody's vilifying, he wouldn't have been able to get it. This isn't a failure of the NRA. This isn't a failure of the Second Amendment. This isn't a failure of our rights. This is a failure of our bureaucracy. Because the Broward County Sheriff's Office had made an agreement with the Broward County School District to not involve their children in any illegal incidents, and anything that happened involving the children regarding illegal incidents were actually supposed to be swept under the rug, because the Broward County School District was trying to get more lucrative state and federal funding by raising their overall statistics. So if you want to know who's at fault for the 17 people that died that day, it's not the NRA. It's not the AR-15. It is ultimately, first of all, the shooter, second of all, the sheriff's office, third of all, the FBI, because at some point they were even contacted and chose not to do anything. But it definitely was not you or me. I didn't put the gun in his hand. I didn't tell him to go shoot up a school. He did it. Ultimately, it's his fault. But even he tried to do the right thing, and the Broward County Sheriff's Office ignored him. Let that part sink in.
I don't know if you're aware of this, but I follow a number of police officers with vlogs on YouTube. And I have seen both comments from Officer 401 and Mike the Cop. And both of them have come down very hard on their brothers in law enforcement. Both of them had said, even if they were the only person armed there other than the shooter, they'd have been in that school. Both of them have said their sidearms were more than effective weapons.
Because they were. Those aren't opinions, those are facts. Anybody with an ounce of firearm training with a pistol could have outshot that kid if they had chosen to. That kid, the only firearm experience that I can find any record of him having was air rifle training through the ROTC. I can't find any record of him shooting anything else. I'm not even exactly sure when he purchased the AR-15, but the simple fact of the matter is these guys were trained for that, and they sat on their hands. That is something that they are going to have to live with for the rest of their lives. That is something that Broward County Sheriff is going to have to live with for the rest of his life. Because while he's telling everybody about his great leadership, actions speak a hell of a lot louder than your words, buddy. You let 17 people die on your watch and did nothing but go on a CNN town hall and berate Dana Loesch because she's a spokesperson for the NRA. Guess what? I'm a member of the NRA. Go ahead, try to come take my guns. As far as you know, I don't have any. I pawned them last week. But come find out for sure. Just saying.
Oh, good luck. I'm not taking that challenge, Rick.
All right, so we are a little bit past the bottom of the hour at this point. We're going to go ahead and take a really quick break. When we come back, we'll continue the discussion. I have Jess from Jess's POV and Jesse's Coffee Shop sitting in for Jenn tonight, who is out with the flu. I'm hoping she'll be better by Thursday, but if not, we may do something similar again. Who knows? But at this point, we're not entirely sure. She just got diagnosed today, and unfortunately, even if she has Tamiflu, that does usually take a couple of days to work. So we'll just have to play it by ear for Thursday. But we're going to take a really quick break as soon as I can find, the bumper I was looking for I can't seem to find. So we'll just jack the one from my show. We'll be back in about 4 minutes. So why are you letting other people tell you what's best for your health care? Exercise your freedom with Liberty Health Share. Liberty Health Share is a community of people who voluntarily share one another's medical costs. Liberty Health Share is founded on the idea that most people truly want to help one another. Healthcare sharing allows members to do just that as a true community that supports one another in times of need. Liberty believes people should make decisions for themselves and their families. Members are able to take back the freedom to make their own decisions about their health care. Freedom from guilt or doubt about how your money is used. You have the freedom to direct your health care, not to be dictated to by bureaucrats. Stop letting others tell you what to do and join a community of like-minded people. Exercise your freedom. Join Liberty Health Share and take back the control of your health care while helping those around you. Call Liberty at 855-58-LIBERTY. Again, that's 855-58-LIBERTY for more information, or you can check them out at libertyhealthshare.org. Again, that's libertyhealthshare.org.
My son was in the Army back during Desert Storm, but even then he wanted an MBA. He looked at a dozen schools, but only one offered the online education and flexibility he needed while he was in a tent in Iraq. Grantham University. Turns out that Grantham's been delivering affordable, relevant college and advanced degrees for over 65 years. Heck, if they can deliver a quality education to a soldier in a tent overseas, think about the flexibility Grantham can offer you so you can earn your degree too. It doesn't matter how complicated or full your life is. If getting a degree is on your bucket list, you'll want to do what my son did. You'll want to call Grantham. Find out how easy it is to get started on your education so you can check that college degree off your bucket list. Call Grantham right now. 800-910-1370. That's 800-910-1370. Flexible, affordable, relevant. Call 800-910-1370.
Tired of paying outrageous prices for Viagra? Well, we have great news for you. Now you can finally get Viagra at huge discounts. Healthy Man allows you to save up to $500 on Viagra. Why pay U.S. pharmacy prices of $15 per pill or more when you can get Viagra for less than $3 a pill? Call today and get 40 Viagra pills for only $99. This can cost as much as $600 at your local pharmacy. You can't afford not to call us. If you want Viagra at the lowest prices, never pay $15 $3 a pill pharmacy prices again. Get Viagra for less than $3 a pill. Call 1-800-516-7602 today and save up to $500 and get 40 pills for just $99. Healthy Man is fast, easy, and affordable. Operators are waiting at 1-800-516-7602 to take your call right now. Call 1-800-516-7602. That's 1-800-516-7602. Again, 1-800-516-7602.
Attention business owners and independent contractors. This is a money-saving message from Tax Mediation Services. If your business owes $20,000 or more in taxes, we can help you today, right now. Listen, dealing with the IRS is no picnic. It's an intimidating and extremely stressful process, and you don't want to go it alone. Our attorneys know every law, every tax break, and every possible opportunity to help you resolve and reduce your tax debt. And if you owe more than $20,000, you may be at the top of their hit list. So don't take your tax debt lightly, because it will not go away on its own. The IRS can seize your bank accounts, your home, and even shut down your business. Call our tax experts today at 1-800-783-0810 and let us deal with the IRS while you focus on your business. That's 1-800-783-0810. Again, that's 800-783-0810.
All right, folks, welcome back. This is the Jen and Rick Show, but for tonight, it's the Jess and Rick Show, and we've been talking all about gun control, gun confiscation, stupid liberals, all of the above. We've been running the gambit. Before I forget, I do want to mention one thing, because we've been pushing an event for America Off the Rails on Friday. I was actually supposed to have a guest on Friday. You may know him on Twitter as Colonel Obvious. However, because of a prior engagement that my wife reminded me of last night that I completely forgot about, he'll actually be guest hosting that night. And he's still planning on having the guests and callers. So if you guys have been following along with his tweets and you have things you want to add, you can still feel free to shoot them over to him on Twitter or me at rick@klrmradio.com. And I will forward those to him. And we will also be giving out a call-in number as soon as the producer decides of which number they want to use, because apparently they have numerous. I have like 2. But anyway, so enough talking about that. So back to the show. So when we went to break, Jess had started thumbing through something about Michigan possibly making changes to their gun-free zones. Did you see anything about whether or not that had passed yet?
I'm still working on researching it, but it is what I call common sense gun reform. Now, I don't know what you deem common sense gun reform, Rick, other than get rid of it, but...
No, well, yeah, I mean, the only good reform is the only good gun reform is dead gun reform, because there's nothing that really needs to be reformed. As far as the weapon itself, I do have some thoughts on gun-free zones, but it kind of sounds like what you've told me is Michigan may have similar thoughts to mine.
Yep. Michigan, it passed the House. I'm looking to see if it actually made it into law. Was going to turn all gun-free zones into concealed carry only zones, which means if that those signs saying gun-free, now they'd still be in effect at courthouses, prisons, places like that. But not at your local mall, not at your local movie theater, not all those other places. It would be conceal it. Now, are you aware, Rick, that there is actually fixed NICS legislation awaiting a vote in the Senate, but it's probably never going to get one?
So, since I'm sure there are people out there that have no idea what you're talking about, what exactly is fixed NICS legislation?
Okay. NICS is the National Criminal Background Check System that is run when you go to buy a handgun. Well, the legislation that was sent over from the House would have provided penalties for organizations that did not make sure that all the records got passed through and make sure, things like what happened with the Air Force. The fact that they didn't update this guy's record. Well, there would now be a penalty for that.
And there needs to be.
But it will probably never see the Senate floor. Because it is tied to another piece of legislation. 50-state concealed carry reciprocity. Which would essentially mean that your concealed carry permit would be valid in any of the other 49 states if you were a guest in that state. It wouldn't mean that a resident of California could go out and get a Texas concealed carry permit and still continue being a resident of California and have concealed carry rights. But it would mean that you, with an Oklahoma concealed carry permit, could travel to California and bring your firearm.
See, I like that.
However, this piece of legislation, which passed the House, overwhelmingly passed, by the way, will probably never see the light of day in the Senate. And I think we need it now more than ever. But like I said, I think Michigan, if they actually do manage to turn gun-free zones into concealed carry zones, I'd call that common sense gun reform.
See, I don't really think. I mean, I know where they're going with it because it's catchy, but I don't really see that as gun reform. I see that as stupid law reform because the idea of gun-free zones, and yes, I know it was a Bush that did it. Sigh. Those were just terrible ideas from the beginning. Because all we did was advertise, hey, nobody here to protect these people, come shoot them. Good plan.
Yeah, no, it's not. I mean, I'm sorry. You're essentially saying, fish in barrel over here, free target practice.
Yeah, pretty much. And nobody gets that fact. The worst thing about it is when you start talking about, and I guess everybody thinks that we're going to make every single teacher in a school get firearm certification and they have no choice but to carry a weapon, because that's how the left is pushing it.
Question.
Yeah.
I know a number of educators, and I've talked to people. I don't know any elementary school teachers, but I've talked to everybody from middle school through college. And not all of them are conservative. In fact, 2 of them are liberal without a doubt. Now, they both say that they would have no problem with teachers. They have no interest in it, at least the 2 liberal ones, being armed, but they have no problem with the teachers being armed. But they had a couple of things they'd like to see added to it. And I actually agreed with most of what they had to say. The firearm must be on your person. It can't be in your pocketbook or in a desk drawer. If you are going to carry it in a school, it must be physically in a holster on your body. Because they don't want, and yes, I'm going to pick on the females part, sorry, but women, it's happened, a female teacher take her pocketbook, or a male teacher take a backpack or some other bag to the restroom. That bag happened to contain their firearm, and they leave it behind.
Yeah, no.
It would have to be on their person, not in a desk drawer, not in a bag. I could go for that. You have any issue with that one?
No,
that
that's actually one of the things that I've been saying all along, because that was one of the first things that everybody started saying is, well, what happens if the teacher puts it or carries it in a bag, or what happens if they lock it in their desk? Like, if they're going to have it in when they're in the school, it needs to be on their person, period, end of discussion. And they're like, well, what happens when there's a kid that knows that they have the gun and they start trying to fight them for it? The point is, nobody that's in the school is actually supposed to know which teacher has the guns until they actually have to use them. And then at that point, it's probably a good idea to maybe change up who has it for a while if one of them does have to use it. So somebody doesn't start coming after them on purpose, provided they're retarded enough to do that. But, I mean, there are ways to make this work without it being about the gun. This has never been about the gun. Everybody that's talking about Australia and their gun reforms and all these wonderful things that they've done, look at Australia's crime statistics. Look at Great Britain's crime statistics. There's still murders. There was recently just a stabbing incident where I believe 22 people were injured with a knife.
You don't need to go that far out of town. Look at what happened in New York with the van or the truck.
Yeah, I know.
Do I need to pull up the audio from that and remind you?
I mean, you can if you have it. I don't really care.
Oh, I could probably take a minute and find it, because you know I've got audio clips from here to Doomsday.
Oh, I'm sure you do.
I mean, really, you would have challenged me on an audio clip. Oh, boy. Let's see. I'm just trying to figure out what that might have been called. I'm not kidding, because I'm sitting here going through file upon file upon file. But no, it just goes to show, I actually have a quote from Mike the cop here about concealed carry permits when I had him on my show for an interview. And
I would encourage everybody, when I pull people over and they let me know they have their permit, but that they don't have it on them, I always actually give them a hard time. Like, well, that makes no sense. Like, why wouldn't you be carrying right now? You don't want to need it when you need it.
I'd rather have it and not need it than need it and not have it.
Yes, 100% agree there.
And that's from a law enforcement officer. So all these people screaming about it's the gun, it's the gun. I'm sorry. If he's willing to say, give people firearms that can pass the background checks, who are we to go against that opinion? He feels perfectly comfortable with people who can pass the background checks being armed. And you heard him. If somebody tells them they have their permit but they're not carrying right now, he actually chews them out.
Sorry,
I'm still looking for the New York clips. I'm on my third folder, but I may not be able to put hands on it quickly enough.
No worries. I actually have been trying to chime in for the last couple of minutes, but I was reading something and kind of didn't realize I was muted while I was talking until I realized I couldn't hear myself in my own headset. And I'm like, oh, wait, I'm muted. So, yeah, I mean, and honestly, I know people in uniform that are the exact same way. I mean, they're just like they'll have somebody, like, they'll be questioning them or something, and they'll pull out their wallet to give them their ID, and they'll pull out their ID, and underneath they'll see a concealed carry permit, and they'll ask, are you currently armed right now? Because I see you have a concealed carry permit, and they'll be like, no, it's at the house. And I've actually been on ride-alongs and stuff even after I stopped doing private security work and all of the above, and basically listen to cops say, why the hell do you have a concealed carry permit and you don't have the gun with you? That's kind of defeating the purpose of having a concealed carry permit. But that's the difference between people that understand what a weapon is for and people that are afraid of a weapon. This fear of the AR-15, it doesn't have anything to do with a gun. It has to do with people that don't understand the gun. These people are acting like an AR-15 is basically this all-powerful super gun that makes you bulletproof and fires 3,000 heat-seeking rounds per second, and you can't miss with it. Because they don't understand how it works. The only thing that they know is what they've been taught, and most of these people don't live in families that have anything to do with firearms. Because they're afraid of them. Fear is a problem. Fear is always a problem. Fear is what gets you killed if you're not careful. Fear is a tool, just like any other thing that tries to get you to decide whether you're going to fight or flee. But if you rely too heavily on the fear, or you allow it to consume you, it can get you dead. And that's why those officers froze. They can say what they want. They froze. I haven't been in that exact situation, but I have been in similar situations. And I can tell you they froze. Now, whether they froze because they were ordered to is still yet to be determined. Whether they froze because of the agreement between the BCO and the BCSD, I don't know. Or whether they froze out of fear. Only they know why they didn't act. But they're the ones that have to face the consequences of the fact that they didn't act. And at some point, they're going to stand in front of their creator and have to answer for the fact that they allowed 17 lives to be snuffed out and did absolutely nothing. I would have rushed in without a weapon, even if it meant I could have possibly saved one child. And I don't say that lightly. I say that because I've had training to do that. And that training becomes instinct. And that's why I was scratching my head even when there was only one of them. And to be listening to the screaming and the bullets and the chaos and to do nothing. Nothing. All of you deserve whatever you get when it's time for you to stand up front for judgment. Period.
I agree. Now, I would like to take people back to Manhattan, where the shooting took place last year.
1 Henry, you ready for Central?
So can I get additional over to Weston? One crime sergeant, Weston 1.
Henry, Weston 1?
Weston City, shot fired. Shot fired. Crime sergeant.
Now, my reason for pulling up that audio clip, Rick, was how fast were those shots ringing out?
Pretty quick.
Yeah. There wasn't a lot of time delay between those shots.
One crime sergeant, Weston 1.
Henry, Weston 1?
Weston City, shot fired. Shot fired.
I mean, I counted at least 3 just in the little section I replayed.
Yeah, I heard at least 3 separate distinct shots. It was pretty much pop, pop, pop.
Exactly. Now, I don't know if those were officers shooting or the gunmen, but we do know that a member of New York's finest, and I am going to say that they are New York's finest, didn't cower when it came time.
Yeah, I mean, I as somebody that's been through the training,
I have, but only informally. But guess what? I'm in a wheelchair. Where do you think I'd have been?
No, I have no doubt. But I'm sitting over here. I mean, you can't see me because we have decided to have mercy on people and not set up webcams so they don't have to look at my ugly face while we're doing radio. But I just. For those of you who can't tell by my tone, I'm completely perplexed right now because I keep rerunning my imaginings of what that scenario would have been like and the things that those officers had to be hearing and the fact that they could just stand there and do nothing.
I don't get it. How do they stand there? That's the question I'd want to ask.
And why,
I mean, seriously.
And why are we blaming the NRA? And while we're at it, why are we talking about this when we have the Vegas shooting and people still know absolutely nothing about what happened, why it happened, who did it, how any of it came about, because there's 14 different stories. We have this recent rebuttal memo from the Democrats that just came out. Nobody's talking about that. We're too busy yelling about the NRA and whether they're a good thing or a bad thing. I don't understand where we are right now. Because the Democrats just told us, we're not trying to come after your guns. We just want common sense regulations as far as who can access guns, but the first thing they do right after they say that is try to float a bill that bans 205 weapons. Bans them. But if you read through the list, it's pretty much exactly what Australia tried to do, which is what they say they want all along when you listen, but then they get up on camera and say, oh no, we're not trying to take anybody's gun rights away from them. We believe in the Second Amendment. We just want to make sure that people that shouldn't have guns don't get them, but then let's float a bill that's going to ban 205 weapons. Now, granted, I don't really see any chance of it surviving, but still the fact that they keep trying when they say that's not what they want. And people believe them.
Well, Rick, I'd like to tell you my impression of Congress.
Yeah, here's my impression of Congress.
You're a liar. You're a liar. You know something that you're not telling us, you slimy scumbag liar.
Oh, I got a good one for you. Give me a second to pull it up. I got one for you. Let me find it. It's called Sidestep. Oh, here's one.
Did you get any of that?
I hear him talking, but he don't come in.
I got another one from that same particular vein. See if I can find it. I might not be able to pull it up real quick, but yeah, you get the idea. I'm sorry.
No, it's all right.
But they're just not making any sense.
Well, I mean, they're doing nothing but pitching to their cheap seats is all they're doing. And I think a lot of them are really starting to push further and further that way because they see folks like Feinstein and Warren and everybody else starting to lose favor with the Democratic Party because the new Democratic Party views them as the centrists. They have a strange definition of centrist, but if that's what they want to call them, that's fine with me. All right, so believe it or not, we're just about out of time. So in case we have folks that are listening that may not be aware of how they can interact with you, why don't you give out your contact information?
All right, you can always find me on Twitter at Radio Host Jesse, and you can email me at the station at jessiespov@klrnradio.com. You're welcome to talk guns, North Korea. Send me the hate mail. I read some on air tonight.
Are you getting hate mail again, too? I love hate mail.
Oh, yeah. I got a 4-page email about it.
Nice. I love hate mail. One of the last ones I read on air said that they took one look at my profile and assumed that I was a child molester.
Oh, no. Mine said that I need to start checking my opinions with a man before I go on air because obviously I don't know anything and I'm just a dependa. Which, for listeners who don't know, that's a very derogatory term for a military spouse.
Nice. So, kind of sounds like you probably ticked off somebody from a Middle Eastern country who has a pretty low opinion of women, but what do I know? All right, and I, of course, am Rick Robinson. You can follow along with me at Radio Host Rick. You can shoot me an email at rick@klrnradio.com. On that note, folks, we are officially out of time. So do you have any last words on the way out the door?
No, except stay in the fight, my friends. Stay in the fight, because I'm not letting anybody take my guns.
Yeah, well,
not ever.
To partially quote the late Charlton Heston, from my cold dead hands, bitches, we're out.
Search Hospital, finding cures.
And it helps if I play the right thing. My bad. I was trying to play a bumper and I hit the commercial button again. Here we go.